Hi humans, Miss Shepard's here. Hey, I had put out a question asking which standards you guys would like to be retaught, and only one I heard back about was 1.2, which is fine. So I'm going to do a little recap on this. Just know I also posted the video that Miss Duffy made from her students' feedback that covers several other of those Unit 1 standards. So here we go. Standard 1.2 asks to identify the different methods of geographic data collection, including GIS, remote sensing, and fieldwork. So I went ahead and pulled up on the screen. This is straight from the College Board course articulation. And you guys can see here, there's a lot going on here, but I'm just going to break it down. So the big thing is this enduring understanding that we know that geographers use maps and data to depict relationships of time, space, and scale. Basically, put geographers use maps to get their information. We love maps. So the learning objective, this is where your standard comes from. So identify different methods of geographic data collection. And then over here, you'll see how we break that down into what we call your essential knowledge. So if you guys can look at this, it's basically just asking you to understand that data is gathered in the field by organizations or individuals, that geospatial technologies include GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems, satellite navigation systems, remote sensing, and online mapping and visualization. So basically, these are going to be the tools part of how do we get the information that we put in maps. And then number three is spatial information can come from written accounts in the form of field observations, media reports, travel narratives, policy documents, personal interviews, landscape analysis, and photographic interpretation. So that is kind of the human side of this. This is how does the place feel? When you're there, do you get a sense of relaxation or do you have a sense of anxiety? That is that human element that like a satellite can't detect, right? At this. So again, GIS stands for Geographic Information System. A good definition is that it's an organized collection of computer hardware, software, data, trained personnel, and procedures for capturing, managing, analyzing, and displaying spatially referenced data to aid problem solving. Spatially referenced data, guys, we've talked about that a lot. And basically, spatially referenced data is this idea that we know where it has come from, we know where it's located, and we know where it's located in space related to other places. Remember, if you can remember back into like August, GIS is what we get the information from, and then they would put that into, say, your GPS, that global positioning system that you have either in your phone or in your car. So without GIS actually getting the information, then GPSs and stuff like Google Maps can't work. Okay, so it's simply how do we get the information? Right. So remote sensing is another component of this idea of how we get the information. It's the science of acquiring information about the Earth's surface without actually being in contact, hence the remote. This is done by sensing and recording reflected or emitted energy and processing, analyzing, and applying that information. So I like this little picture here because it has our little satellite floating up here. This is orbiting us right here in space, and it is emitting energy, and it can bounce back and say, ooh, there's a tree there. And we know it's, 10 feet tall. Oh, this tree is 10.5 feet tall. And then if it was hitting the house, if it was hitting all these, fence posts, and then all of that data is transmitted to this receiving satellite, which lives on Earth. And then that is what turns into those really awesome topographic maps, the Google Earth information. I know all of you have creeped on yourselves on Google Earth, hopefully at some point where you've looked at the um, like where you live and you have like the satellite imagery. So again, that is remote sensing. So remote sensing is just basically how the satellite functions, which turns it into geographic information that we then can process. And the last one asks about field work. And again, this is that human side of it. This is actually physically walking, driving, scouting an area, taking notes, video sketches, as well as interviewing people. First thing that came to my mind is in the midst of all this COVID-19, we're still collecting information for the census. And with social distancing, I'm imagining the field work has changed rapidly. I'm not sure they're deploying door to door workers right now, but Remember, that's they're interviewing us for information, right? So I filled out my census paperwork about 3 4 weeks ago and sent it in, and that's field work. That's collecting the human side of the people in the landscape. I was thinking about it, and this was a video we watched probably seriously day 2 of our class. And if you can remember this, this is Geospatial Revolution. There's 4 or 5 episodes. So if you want to watch all of them, they're really excellent. But episode 1 is all about remote sensing and GIS, basically the tools that geographers use, and how do we get the information, then applying it to how do we think like geographers. So remember that idea of how is this connected, where do we see patterns of this happening, why do we see this happening, how could this data be interpreted to help change for the better. So I just wanted to remind you about this video on here. I love this like screenshot here because this was an app that was created to help people in Haiti after they had their terrible earthquake. And what they did is they put this app out, and people were able to just basically report what was happening. So they could say, oh my gosh, there's a fire, or there's people trapped somewhere, or there's a medical emergency. And this was helping people like the paramedics and first responders get to the places they needed to go. Um, and that's field work, right? But they're using GIS and remote sensing to build the map data once they know where people have clicked, things have happened. All right, guys, I hope this helps a little. And again, check out Miss Duffy's video that she did for her other standards that were addressed. And I look forward to hearing your guys' feedback and seeing what you guys need for Unit 2. All right, bye.